Okay.
Alright, so Kevo show, how y'all doing? Have a long time client here. Had a viral story about her daughter. And today I want to interview her before I do her tattoo about, I would say, like her life after and how that affected her mentally and stuff like that. So like, subscribe, tune in. We're about to get started. Whew. So.
Oh man, where do we start? Oh wow.
I know.
Jesus, yes.
How you been, first off, since are you still in the case, or how is that going? Like, how you been lately?
Well, the case is still going, and due to the pandemic and all this stuff going on, it's prolonging, and so it might not be over with until another 2-3 years from what I was told. Yeah, that's what I said. So, but after, I would have never imagined a year from today where I am now today.
It happened that long ago? It was a year ago?
It was a year ago.
It don't feel like that long ago.
It don't. Just the 22nd was the day that we buried Maleah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a year since then, so.
22nd, okay. So, for people who don't know, can you briefly, explain, the gist of the whole case? What happened? We know your daughter passed, but just for the people who don't know, can you just, make it as short as possible? What happened?
Oh God, where do I start? I feel like everybody knows by now.
I'm just saying, just for people who need a recap.
So basically what happened was, in a nutshell, I went to go see about my father. He was dying. I was trying every way possible to go see him because I didn't know what was going on, and he was passing aggressively.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I got there, I took a bus there. By the time I got there, he was becoming unresponsive. And so, he only acknowledged me once or twice, and then a day later he became fully unresponsive, and a day after that, we had to pull the plug on him. So I didn't even have a chance to tell him goodbye, and I was actually frustrated because we had all this CPS stuff going on, trying to do the right thing, and then my sister calls and says, "Hey, you need to get up here, Dad's not doing well," and I haven't seen my dad in over a decade. Mm-hmm. And it was just a lot going on. I was worried about everything. I was worried about my daddy. I was worried about the bills. I was worried about the kids being okay. You left the kids with your boyfriend at the time. Yeah, right? I left him. Yeah, I left the kids with him, and I felt comfortable doing that. And I knew I wasn't going to be up there too long. My focus was, okay, I'm going to leave, tell my daddy goodbye, mm-hmm. tell him that I forgive him, everything is good, he can go be in peace, mm-hmm. and then come back. But it didn't happen that way. I ended up staying out there for a week. Mm-hmm. But checking in, with my ex, my kids and stuff. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And then I come back because I didn't want to be out there for 2 whole weeks. And I'm like, man, I got stuff to do back at home. So I was like, okay, well, whenever you guys figure out what the plan is for the funeral, let me know. I'll come back up here for 2-3 days, and then I'll go back home.
Okay. So when did you get the news that something happened to your daughter?
I didn't realize that they were missing until the 4th. Now they were. So
how long were you gone in between then?
Okay, so, oh God, when did I leave? I left the 31st of April, mm-hmm. and then I came back the 3rd, which was that Friday, and they were supposed to pick me up that night, and they never showed. And I was like, well, hell, it's pouring down, raining. maybe he can't find me. Our phones were off and stuff, and I was getting...
So he was supposed to come pick you up?
He was supposed to come pick me up, and he never did.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. All right, so
I was like stranded at the damn airport, going back and forth. My nerves was on 10. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and I was like, man, I just hope that they okay. It never happened. I don't know. It's just weird because I've never experienced nothing like this with him, you know. And so I was really worried, and it got to a point where I was just like, okay, F this. I'm gonna call my mom. Hopefully she's up. Thank God she was up. She came and got me. And then after she came and got me, I told her what was going on. And so, but as she was on her way, she was like, let me know if he gets there so I can just go back home. But he never showed. And then after that, we went back to the house. And
you went back with your mom?
Yeah, I went to my house.
So when did you get the news that she was missing?
We didn't realize they were missing completely until the 4th.
So the day that your mom came and picked you up?
It had to, yeah, I guess you could say that because it was early in the morning.
So who called the police or anything like that?
We didn't call the police until like 7, 8 something that morning. It was me, his brother, and it was my mom. And we waited. Like, we were like, well, maybe he'll find his way home. Because, you know, he's not from here. So I didn't know if he knew how to get to the airport without Wi-Fi.
So he was supposed to come get you. He's supposed to fly to come get you?
No, he's supposed to drive to come get me.
What he's gonna go to the airport for then?
I was at the airport.
Oh, he was gonna drive to come get you from the airport?
Yes.
Okay.
And he never showed up.
Okay.
It was supposed to be him and the kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what raised the speculation.
Yeah.
And you ended up calling the people. You said we called. Who called?
Okay, so what I remember it was Saturday morning. It was like between 7, 10-ish. I know around 7 something, we went to his brother's house looking for him. We was like, man, when's the last time you heard from him? And they was like, well, we heard from him the day before. They, if I remember correctly, it was like around 2, 3 something. What else happened? Gosh, it's so long ago. So then Joe ended up coming back with us to the apartment. And what else happened? After we got back to the apartment, I couldn't get in because I didn't have a key. And so we called maintenance. And then when me and my mom was trying to get a hold of maintenance, we told Joe to call the police. He called the police and did the report.
Yeah.
And then once we were finally able to get into the apartment, we all went into the apartment with the police, and there was no sign of nobody.
So
the light was still on from when
I you called because you was worried about your kids. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, hell yeah, I was worried about my kids.
Because I'm thinking like, you said.
I mean, he's grown. He can find his way home. But my concern was, where's my kids at?
I get you.
You know.
I get you.
Like,
I get you.
You know, we've never had nothing like this. I've never been through nothing like this. So at this point, I'm like.
But I thought he had a previous case with CPS though.
No, that's not true.
Okay, so that's just some people just stir it up.
That's a rumor.
All right. So.
The only CPS case that we had, we got it back in 2018. And what happened with that was my kids went over to their daddy house for the weekend. 2 days later, Maleah started showing signs and symptoms of something going on internally. And it freaked me out. So I brought her to the hospital. And they did x-rays and stuff. They didn't see anything. They basically was like, oh, we think it's a stomach virus. I went to 2 different hospitals, and these 2 different hospitals told me the same damn thing. So I'm like, okay, well, hopefully she gets better over time. And then I want to say like a week later, because the first incident was, it happened around July the 4th. I think it was like July 6th to the 8th or something like that. That's when they were with their dad. And then the next incident was July 28th, when she actually had the fall at the table. So when she had that fall at the table, she was sitting at the table by herself while I was changing my baby. And so that's where she got the gash. Okay, and so that same night, we brought her to West Houston Hospital. And we sat there for the longest. We had to been there for like 3-4 hours before they even decided to finally sew her head up. And they didn't do no CT scan. They didn't even check to see if she even had bleeding of the brain or anything. They just sent us home and told me to put some cream on it. So days later, I think this was August 1st. August 1st, I brought her to the pediatrician because she started showing other signs and symptoms of something I wasn't sure of, but the pediatrician wasn't there. So I went to Texas Children's Hospital, all the way, the one in Katy, and I told them what was going on. They got her back there quick. Within 15 minutes, they had her in a CT scan, and that's when they came back and told me, well, we found old and new blood. And at that point, I felt like she was gonna die, you know. And so, anyways, they rushed her to the hospital.
And what they found in the new blood?
I don't know. They just told me that they found old and new blood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, which makes sense because by that time it was like weeks had passed, and that old blood was from the first incident around the same time she was at her daddy's house.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, after that,
didn't her daddy supposedly like beat the dude up in court or something?
Yeah.
I would have did this.
Hey, more power to you, because trust me.
Because if my daughter, man, if something happened to my daughter, man,
beat his ass.
Me and my daughter are close. Like, we tight. So I don't even know how I would be able to look at somebody that did something like that to my daughter.
See, I wasn't even there when it happened. I was actually in California with Jeanette. And so I got the phone call.
It's all good. Let's stay on track. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No, it's okay.
So it's not true that you left her with somebody that had a case or whatever. You said that. All right, so y'all call because you're worried about your kids, and then the news reports that your kid has been missing because they picked up the story. So did you speak to the guy, your boyfriend, at any time?
The last time I had seen him, what happened was, let me just kind of go back to that weekend when everything popped off. After we gave the report, what happened? Initially, when Joe gave the report, he reported that, I don't know. Well, honestly, I don't know what happened because the first report said that Maleah was just missing. Okay. And then when me and my mom went back to the police station to give them photos of Maleah, Cortland, and Darion, that's when they told us, well, isn't it just one person? We was like, no, it's not one person. It's like my whole family. I already know where Peyton is. You know what I'm saying? So they updated the information or whatever, and we gave them the pictures to use for us to pass out flyers and stuff. And then
and what about him? Did they ask y'all about him, or they just put a search warrant for him?
No, matter of fact, one of the police officers kind of made a joke and was like, oh, well, he's probably just mad and he's just being silly or something. No. First of all, this is new behavior I've never seen before. This ain't no laughing matter, you know. So
so where were the other kids at this time?
Peyton was with his daddy.
Okay.
That weekend because and
the other ones?
Cortland and Maleah was with Darion.
All right. So I'm talking about after Maleah was missing. Where were the other kids? Okay,
so that's what I'm trying to go according to the storyline. So. During that whole day, we was looking for them. We couldn't find them, whatever. Later on that night, which was Saturday, it was that Saturday, I got a phone call saying that only Cortland and Darion appeared at the hospital at Methodist. I think that's the hospital in Sugar Land. That's when I realized Maleah was gone. They told me that she had been kidnapped. And I remember I was completely exhausted.
So who took Cortland to the hospital?
Cortland was with Darion.
All right.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, well, I'm trying to be clear here. So, the other kids were fine?
No. Peyton, okay, see, when Darion was supposed to come pick me up, it was supposed to be him, Maleah, and Cortland. All right,
so I'm trying to figure out where Cortland is in this story.
Cortland was with Darion the whole time.
So Cortland was fine then.
Yeah, Cortland was fine.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
that's That's our son.
Mm-hmm.
And then Peyton and Maleah is for Craig. Cortland was fine. The only thing he had was the flu.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And so they're the only ones that showed up, and Maleah was missing. Because to my knowledge, my whole family's gone besides Peyton.
I get what you're saying.
And then when they showed up at the hospital,
so your ex-boyfriend, he ain't have no ties to Maleah technically. Since it's not his daughter, he had his son.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah.
All right. So the police, they do this search and then they find out that Maleah's body is. They find parts in Arkansas, right?
Yeah.
So they found her body where you were going, right? Where were you going?
No, I was going
see your dad.
I was going to Massachusetts.
Okay, so you don't know any connection about why it was found. Okay,
no.
so afterwards, that happens. They find body parts, and then you go viral. Basically, your story goes viral.
Mm-hmm.
How did that? Walk us through that. Like, walk us through. I'm not trying to be cliche and say, oh, how horrible was it, how bad. Just be honest about how it affected your life to be viral for something negative, because it wasn't a good viral.
No, it wasn't at all.
Like, I was seeing all this stuff about Maleah, and I was like, I'm not gonna comment on this because I know you personally, and I was like, this shit's scary. You know what I'm saying? And then when they said they found body parts, I said, I can't repost about it. I didn't want to post nothing about it.
Yeah.
So how did that affect your life? How did it affect work, personal life, mental health, all of that? Like, what did that do? That negative viral story, what did that do to you?
Well, for one, I've already had anxiety and mental health issues prior to the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So when this happened to me, oh my gosh, it feels like you're suffocating and you can't breathe. It feels like you're in the ocean and you swimming towards the top, but you're not going anywhere. You're stagnant, and it's the worst feeling possible, because not only is your child missing or potentially dead, your whole life has been exposed to the world, and everybody is watching you. I'm a private person. I don't like people in my business. You know what I'm saying? I like my business to be my business, but then I got to a point where I started to feel like this became a showcase for everybody. Everybody wanted a piece of it. Everybody wanted to talk about it. Everybody wanted to say, oh, I seen her over here, or I seen her over there, or I talked to her, or whatever it is. Like, it was too much for me. And it was really messing with my mental. I was starting to space out. I was daydreaming a lot because I didn't want to deal with the reality that I was in. Mm-hmm. And so I became numb emotionally, because going from dealing with almost losing Maleah in 2018, and I thought she was going to die, to CPS taking my kids and I'm trying to figure out why, to me getting my kids back and then this happening. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it really affected me to the point where I was becoming suicidal. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to be here. I was becoming suicidal to a point where I was going to take my life and your life, because that's just where my mental was. Mm-hmm. You know, and anybody that was going to try me, you was going to get it. You know what I'm saying? That's just where I was mentally.
Yeah, it had broke you. So
I was completely broken.
It broke your spirit. Imagine being a celebrity going through something. That's kind of how I would feel, because I've seen a lot of celebrities, like, when they go through something, they fall apart because it's too much. They have too much attention. It's
too much. You can't even grieve in peace. Everybody's looking at you.
So, what about working? Was that affected?
Well, the type of job I was working at Jack in the Box, and I knew I just couldn't be in the public like that. So I just was like, F that. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to put myself around people because I know how I am. Okay. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to feel like, I don't want to live and be paranoid or live in fear. Mm-hmm. So I did what I felt like was best for me. And so at one point, for a long period of time, I wasn't working, until I feel like God granted me an opportunity to find work that fit that suited me in the time being. Okay. And so eventually gradually I started to get back on my feet.
Okay. So I know you're still dealing with the case, and that's good to know that something helped you out. How would you describe like your mental health now, like moving forward? Is it better or worse, or is it still the same?
Oh, Lord. I still have issues, you know. That's not something I really like to talk about, but
understood.
But I'd rather just be transparent about what I'm going through, because I'm just tired of people creating the narrative. And so if you really want to know how I feel, I just want to be transparent about it and what I got.
Source.
Yeah, what I got going on. Yeah. Right. And so I have anxiety attacks, I have depression, I have PTSD, certain situations, certain people, certain smells, certain environments trigger these things for me. Mm-hmm. And so it's hard for me because now I'm going through this secretly by myself, but every day I have to go to work. And so I have to put on this other face like everything is okay, but everything isn't okay. And there's been times where even recently I just was like, F this, man, I just can't do this. And so I still have moments to myself where I really want to give up. It's really bothering me. Like that lady who passed away, I forgot what her name is. I think she was a co-creator of This Is Us. Have you heard about her? Mm-hmm. She committed suicide because she felt like she was trapped in a house with her anxiety. That's what it feels like. You're in a box with all your demons, and you don't know what to do. So when people tell you, you're gonna be okay and all of this stuff, and it don't commit suicide, like what is your mind telling you? Because I felt like those thoughts, I'm not very, very religious, but I feel like those negative thoughts come from what people call the devil, and I feel like our positive thoughts come from people what we call God. Right. So when you hear that, when you're thinking negative and people telling you it's gonna be okay, what do you feel like they don't understand, or do you like, what is it like? It's a mixture of both. When people say, "Oh, you're gonna be okay," no, I'm not. That's the first thought. I'm like, no, I'm not. Yeah. I'm not gonna be okay. I mean, gradually in the future, maybe, but right now, no, that's not how I feel at the moment. Do you feel like you could help somebody else going through something like this? What would your advice be? Yeah, I do feel like I could. Actually, because my story is so detailed, and I just feel like I could reach different, platforms, as far as in like children dying, your child dying, or having mental illnesses, or being a single mom. I feel like I can touch bases on a lot of things. But I know it's for me what keeps me going, because I have to stay focused, and it's not easy. Just because I carry it well doesn't mean it ain't heavy on me. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So my advice to you is to always know what your why is. And if your why is your children, you need to stick with that, because it gets to a point where nothing else can really keep you motivated besides your kids. Mm-hmm. And right now, that's where I'm at now. There's days where I just wake up, and some days I just don't want to wake up. Mm-hmm. But I know that my kids still need me at the end of the day, and I'm going to do whatever I got to do to make sure that I be that for them, whatever it is that they need me to be. Understood. Okay. Well, last thing I want to say, I want to ask is, do you feel like anything you did, you could have done differently for Maleah, or even moving forward? Like, even, I don't want to say moving forward, even after you found out that this was what happened, do you feel like you could have did anything different to help your situation? I feel like there is one thing that bothers me the most when I do think back, and when I was thinking on it at that present time. I wish I would have never left. I wish I would have never left. Okay. I'm sorry.
sorry.
That's the only thing I wish I could have changed. I wish I would have never left. And people don't even know that I wanted to bring my kid. I wanted my whole family to actually go up there, but we just couldn't afford it.
Okay.
So.
I'm sorry. I didn't want to make you cry.
No, it's okay.
But I appreciate you for coming on the platform.
Oh, no problem, Kevo.
And, speaking your piece. And we're going to be good to go. I'm going to get into your tattoo and get that out the way. And we'll be all right.
All right.
You'll be all right.